Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast for episode 3 of our baby break, covering 1-star reviews of the original Mistborn trilogy, the books that we've read so far, while Dak and Jamie are out just having had a baby, doing all sorts of fun baby things. So I am Data, and with me is...
It's Joe, just me, too bad.
Yep, it's just the two of us, and this time we are doing 1-star reviews of The Hero of Ages, the third book in the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy. So these are people who made it through the first 2 books, got to the third one, and were like, damn, that sucks. So I think that would be an interesting subset of opinions.
Yeah, that is going to be, I feel like, more interesting because it's like people that really gave it a go, and then at the end they were just like,
Yeah. So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
From Omega to Mars, from the council to the seediest bars, from the reaches of space to the pillars of a sorry grace. There are battle wombitarians lacking in humility. Turians are bragging about their reach and flexibility. The clutter of the city spreads to the lowliest stars. But no matter what scars you bear, whatever uniform you wear, you can fight like a Krogan, run like a leopard, but you'll never be better than Commander Shepard.
So, it's funny because a couple of the reviews that I read looking for 1-star reviews last week were like, yeah, I hated the second book. I'm going to give the third one a try, though. We'll see. And so some of those people I had to follow and see, did they actually write a review for the third one on Goodreads and then see what they thought. And I think there were 2 different people that I looked at, and they did actually go on and read the third one and write a review for the third one. And both times they were like, you know what? The third one saved this trilogy from being terrible.
Oh, that's good. People change their minds. That's good.
So obviously none of them made it this time, since these are all 1-star reviews of this book. But I thought that was a funny little aside.
Well, before we jump in, are there any book trilogies that you have read, and then you read the last one, and you were like, oh no, this is terrible?
The Hunger Games, the end of the third Hunger Games book just ruined the entire trilogy for me. So I've never read that
really?
again.
I only read the first one of those. I never finished it. It really wasn't for me.
I think the first one was the best one, so it's probably fine.
Yeah, if that was the best one, then for sure, then I didn't need to finish it.
I'm trying to think of what other trilogies that I have read that I was...
Or it doesn't have to be a trilogy, just like any series that wrapped up and you were like, mm-mm.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to look through my Kindle now because I'm sure there are. I read the whole series of the Guardians of Ga'Hoole books, which, by the way, are clearly intended for little kids. So it's not. I was not the target audience for that series, but they were not good. It started out okay, and then it just got worse and worse.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten to the end of a series and not liked it. I think simply because if it gets to that point, then I'm not going to finish. Like I have read series before that I just don't ever finish because I'm like, you know what, I'm not enjoying this. Game of Thrones, prime example. Of course, that one's not finished, right, but it's prime example of a series that I started and then never completed the books that were out because I just lost interest.
There's a couple series that I have on my list that started out really good, and then it's not that they got bad or anything. It's just you went too long on this. You've got less interesting as we went. Like the first book of Richard Kadri's Sandman Slim books, I love the first book. Sandman Slim is a great character. They do it really well. And then the next couple books, still really good. I think there's 8 or 9 out now. And by now it's just I still read them and the character's still fun, but it's just you've really kind of run out of good stuff to do with this. And did you ever read Artemis Fowl?
No, I never did get around to reading those, probably because I really just didn't see them as something that was for me at that. Yeah. I think by the time they were coming out, I was a teenager and I really just wasn't interested in reading them. So I never did do that.
Yeah. Once again, that's definitely directed at a younger audience. I really like the first book. The main character is really, is interesting because he's this young, super genius, villain, and kind of unapologetically so. But then as the series progresses, they want him to be a sympathetic, somebody that the audience likes. So he morphs from being a villain into being a good guy, basically. And that I was just like, why? He was such a fun, like, anti-hero basically, and then you're like, no, he needs to be like he needs to be working to fix the environment and all this BS. And I'm like, come on, that's not fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it got good reviews because it was an interesting, like, idea, and then the guy was like, well, how can we turn this into something positive for kids that are reading this? And I bet you that's the way it went. But I totally agree. If you did like a whole series of like super genius kid villain where every, like, even every book could be about different people that are trying to stop him from accomplishing his goals, I think that would be really interesting direction to take that.
Yeah. And the whole first book is him, like, trying to pull off this heist against against fairies, and he's got like this intricate plan, and even though stuff goes wrong, he's super smart and he's planned ahead. It's like this bad guy Batman thing. And I was like, yes, and at the end he like wins or whatever, and you're like, yeah, it's awesome. And then later it's just like, oh, I want to be friends with the fairies, and we're gonna help people and beat the bad guys. And it's like, whatever. Okay. Just gotta be so blah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's probably. I'm looking through my books, and that's the ones that stick out to me. The Gentleman Bastards series. There's 3 books out so far, and I really don't like the second one, but I really love the third one and the first one, so it's okay.
Yeah. What are those about? I've never heard of those.
So the first one is The Lies of Loch Lamora, and it's like a fantasy. It's kind of Ocean's 11 meets Game of Thrones fantasy type thing, where it's like clever thieves pulling a heist, but it's also in this like really cutthroat, vicious, very bloody, violent fantasy version of Venice, essentially. And so I love the first book, The Lies of Loch Lamora, one of my favorites. And then the second book, they go on like a pirate adventure. I'm not really big into pirates, so I'm just like, okay, whatever. But then the third one, they have to rig an election, and once again, that was fun for me. So
yeah, you just reminded me of this with Pirate Adventure, because I'm not super into pirates either. But the one exception to that for me is the One Piece manga, not the show. For whatever reason, I do not like the anime at all. But the manga is actually very fun to read, and I think it's probably just because it's fast. Like, manga, they stretch everything out in the animes,
right?
Primarily, and I think because the manga has such a quick pace to it, I actually really enjoy it. But the anime is just way too slow. So that's probably the one exception to pirate stuff. Like, I'm not super into pirates, but One Piece, the comic, I actually really enjoy.
Interesting. I don't read a lot of manga, so it's...
Yeah. The only things I'm reading right now are Dragon Ball Super, because the show ended, and
did it?
Basically because they were waiting for more material, because the anime got ahead of the manga. So I'm reading Dragon Ball Super just because I'm a big Dragon Ball fan, so I want to know what's going on. And then I also read My Hero Academia, because that's actually pretty fun. The anime's pretty good. They try to stick to the manga as much as possible, I feel like. But yeah, those are the only 2 manga I read that like are current. I'm not current with One Piece. I'm like way behind.
So on Dragon Ball Super, they didn't like Game of Thrones it and just start making up their own shit?
So they did for the anime for Dragon Ball Super. That's kind of why it had to end, because it got way ahead. So basically the manga has pretty much followed a lot of the stuff that the anime did, but the anime added a bunch of stuff, or changed certain story parts and things like that, because the material hadn't been written yet. And I'm guessing maybe the author had a plan for it, and so I'm sure he shared that with Funimation, who was making it, and they kind of did their own thing with it to an extent, because there's just different things that happen in the manga. Like, things that happen in the show happen a little bit differently. It reminds me a lot of Full Metal Alchemist, because I think that's what happened with that show. The original anime, before Brotherhood came out, they were putting that out at the same time the manga was coming out because it was so popular. Yeah. And so the anime, like, parts of the story and how it ends are completely different than the manga. So that's why they re-released Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which follows the manga a lot more closely.
Okay, interesting. I never watched or read any Full Metal Alchemists. So.
Yeah, I watched the anime when it was out, or when they were putting it out in the U.S., because that was like at the height of like Saturday's anime on Cartoon Network. Like that's all those shows, Inuyasha, all that stuff came out kind of at the same time. So I was watching all that stuff.
So there you are, listeners. No Harry Potter digression at the beginning.
No.
We went a completely different direction just for you guys.
What's your
Mixing
listeners?
it up.
What's your favorite anime? We could we could do a show about anime if you wanted. Like we could do 1-star reviews of Dragon Ball Z as a series. You never know. What could we do? We could do anything. You tell us.
We could do anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to what we're doing this week is 1-star reviews of The Hero of Ages. Wildak and Jamie are out. The numbers on this one were interesting because there are almost 4,800 reviews on Amazon and absolutely no 1-star reviews.
Wow. That's also not very many reviews in general.
It's pretty close to what the other Amazon, like I think there were 4,900 for the last book on Amazon and like 5,300 for the first book or something. So it's not, no, maybe it's 70 something.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's 7,600 for the first book. So, but anyway, so this book has 82% 5-star reviews on Amazon. So overall, people like it a lot on Amazon.
Yeah. Which I feel like if you've gotten this far into the series and you've read the third book, I feel like you're probably already kind of in.
Yeah, it's true. I would think that as well. So for Goodreads, which is obviously where all of our reviews today will be coming from because there were no 1-star reviews on Amazon, there are 300,000 ratings and 2,200 of them are 1-star, which comes out to 0.7%. So a little less than 1%, which is pretty close to what it was last time for the other book too. Mm-hmm. So. Okay, let's get into these. Alex Deranged Kitty Cat on Goodreads says, I'm sorry.
Sweet.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm so well. Technically it's Alex and then biohazard symbol and then deranged kitty cat and then biohazard symbol again.
Sure.
So I guess that's important for the name. They said actually I missed this first line. DNF about 5 hours into the book, so they did not finish 5 hours in. I'm sorry, me and this book are too different. I loved book 1, tried my best to finish book 2, but book 3 got me. Reading about Elend, and in parentheses, and not Kelsier, feels like going to a Queen concert featuring Adam Lambert instead of Freddie Mercury. Enough is enough. There are too many amazing books out there. So,
was that the whole thing?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so he has equated Elend to being Kelsier, which I don't think you're meant to equate that at all. I also don't think Elend's really the protagonist of the book, which Kelsier felt like more of a protagonist in the first book than I think. But also, I love his comparison. It's like your comparison is exactly right. Kelsier is dead. So is Freddie Mercury, unfortunately. The band is also not the same. You know, the original lineup is completely different. So I feel like your argument doesn't really have much merit because it's like Brian May is not even the guitarist anymore at this point in this series. Like Brian May is gone. There is no Brian May equivalent here. So I'm not really sure what your issue is with Elend. He was a dopey guy in the first book, but I feel like this book speaks heavily to his character. Of course, he didn't finish, so he didn't even get to all the inner turmoil stuff. And then if he was only 5 hours in, he probably didn't get to a lot of the inner turmoil stuff, and then the ending where he sacrifices himself. So
right. Yeah, I don't know. It depends on how fast a reader you are, how far you get in 5 hours, but it's a great book, so I feel like you probably didn't get near the end. It's actually a common complaint in some of the reviews that I saw that people miss Kelsier. They're just like, okay, yeah, the book is whatever. Kelsier's not here anymore, so I don't like it anymore.
Interesting. So they came for the Kelsier in the first book. They suffered through no Kelsier in the second book. I'm not sure what they thought was going to happen.
Yeah, you thought Kelsier was good. I wasn't dead after all.
Yeah, he walks over the rise. No bones, obviously, because his bones have been taken.
Yep.
And just I'm here.
I mean, well, and he kind of does. We find out after Secret History.
Sure.
There is some of that to it.
Yeah. It sounds like these people needed to read the Secret History parts up to the end of the second book after reading the second book to enjoy it.
Yeah, I guess you could do that. You could read the second book and then read like the first 2 parts or 2 chapters or whatever of Secret History, where it's just Kelsier hanging out in the. But then you get all the ruined stuff kind of ruined for you because you know a bunch about him before you get the third book. But I'm glad you knew some details about Queen, because I don't know. I'm not a music person in general, so I don't know anything about that band. I'm like, is Adam Lambert a guy who's in Queen? I don't fucking know.
Yeah. So, yeah, Freddie Mercury, obviously the original lead singer, famously died of AIDS or complications because of AIDS. And then Adam Lambert, who I think was a winner of American Idol in one of the seasons. I don't know. I never watched American Idol. But then eventually he became like the replacement singer for Queen. They basically decided to reform the band, go back on tour, and that he would be the singer. So that's what's going on with Queen right now. If they're obviously, they may be touring at this point. I don't know who's touring now with COVID ramping back up, but
for some reason when I read Adam Lambert there, my mind went to like Christopher Lambert from The Highlander. And
that would be great if Christopher Lambert was lead singer for Queen.
I was like, wait a second, is he in Queen? I don't
weird. Think can he even sing? I mean,
I don't know.
I want to see Lord Raiden up there on stage trying to sing. That'd be cool.
Right? Yeah, he's real old now though. So
yeah, he is. Wasn't he also in Warlock?
I don't know. Let's take a look at his IMDb. I got him pulled up right now.
That movie's not good.
Oh wow, he's got lots of movies in production right now. There's like
that's cool.
6 or 7 movies on this list of stuff that is in pre-production or post-production. Mortal Kombat 11, he voiced Raiden.
Sure, that's cool.
Several episodes of The Blacklist, apparently, which I don't remember. That may have been after I stopped watching it.
Maybe he's like another criminal guy that helps, or he's a new FBI guy.
Yeah, who knows? Several episodes of NCIS Los Angeles. I never watched NCIS Los Angeles. Not a big fan. No. He was in the second Ghost Rider movie as Methodius.
Oh, man, sorry I missed that.
Druids, Highlander Endgame, Beowulf, Hercule and Sherlock. Oh, is it like Hercule Poirot and Sherlock? That's okay.
Yeah, gotta be.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Agatha Christie meets Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Probably not good. Probably made for TV.
Yeah. He's in the movie Loaded Weapon 1, uncredited as Man with Carphone. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, he's in lots of weird stuff, is what I'm learning.
Did you ever see the Sherlock thing where Vincent D'Onofrio played Moriarty?
I don't think so. That doesn't sound familiar.
I want to say it was like a terrible, like straight to video Sherlock Holmes movie, and Vincent D'Onofrio plays Moriarty, and it's terrible.
Sherlock: Case of Evil, a 2002 film.
Yeah, there you go.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, way before RDJ made his character beloved again.
So I like the description here. It's a made-for-television movie featuring James D'Arcy as Sherlock Holmes. Does that actually say his name? D''ARCY? Is it Darcy? D'Arcy?
D'Arcy? Yeah, maybe.
He plays Jarvis in Agent Carter. That's the only thing that I remember him from off the top of my head. I just don't know how to say his name. The story noticeably departs from the classic depiction, style, and backstory of the original material. So Sherlock Holmes, totally different backstory, totally different style, totally different everything. He's from Brooklyn. I don't know. Who knows? Probably not. But
Brooklyn!
He's a kid from Brooklyn, and he takes some super soldier serum that makes him wicked smart. That's Boston. Yeah,
that's
Boston. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked a lot on this one. Okay.
What are you wicked? What are you wicked smart?
Okay, this one is a very short one, and another complaint that I saw several times on Goodreads, and I have some internal theories about this because it doesn't make sense to me to take it at face value, but I'll just read. It's like one sentence. Thinly veiled Mormon propaganda, avoid.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
More thinly veiled Mormon propaganda. Hey, just because the guy grew up Mormon and he lives in Utah doesn't mean everything he writes is thinly veiled Mormon propaganda. But hey, maybe I'm the asshole. Maybe I don't know enough about Mormonism. Maybe this person is totally right.
Well, I was about to say, I know some stuff about the religion, and none of this fits with that in my brain, but there were several people who were like, oh, this is clearly him pushing his Mormon beliefs, but by halfway through this book it becomes so preachy and clearly Mormonism being shoved at you that I couldn't finish it. And I'm like, really? I didn't get that at all.
Yeah, maybe we're just dumb.
Maybe. Or
Uh,
I thought maybe some church somewhere was mad. They're like, oh, this popular author is a Mormon. We have to go out there and stop people from reading his stuff. And we're like leaving lots of reviews where it's like, no, don't listen to this. It'll turn you into one of them. I don't know.
I'm not taking this fantasy novel as gospel, no matter no matter what religion it's thinly veiled as. So I'm not sure what the concern is. But yeah, I mean, I don't get that. I mean, is there stuff about volcanoes in Mormonism?
I don't. I was about to quote like some Scientology stuff where there's volcano involved, but
yeah,
no,
there's
I don't
definitely
know.
Volcanoes in Scientology. I knew that. Volcano mouth, whatever. Yeah, that's strange, man. I don't know what they're talking about. I mean, I guess they eat God's body or become gods. I don't know.
I guess. I mean, yeah, they do use part of like a god's body, but then that god dies and somebody else becomes God, and I don't think that there's anything very Mormon in that. But
no,
I don't know.
No,
I just don't know enough about it to like comment. I guess.
Yeah, let's just move on because we clearly don't know. Maybe these people are exactly right. Maybe the Mormon Church says like 100% that's what it is, but we don't know.
To be fair, most of my original knowledge of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints comes from that South Park episode.
True. Yeah, that's where most of mine comes from.
I mean, I've read more stuff about it since then at various times, but that's like the foundation of my knowledge, so that's probably not a great place to make any comments from.
Definitely not. Yeah, not a great jumping off point. All I can think of is like Joseph Smith looking at a hat. I don't even remember anything else really.
Okay, we'll go on to here's another one that touches on something that a lot of people were complaining about in the reviews that I wrote. So this is from Jack, and Jack says, despite my review below, this author has become my absolute favorite in the genre. Ironic how things turn out. The following 3 books are so much better than the first 3. I assume he probably means the next 3 Mistborn books that have come out.
Era 2.
They are very different from these for sure. But so the rest of his actual 1-star review is, I have decided that this author isn't very clever. The amount of repetition, and the stupidity of the characters mean that I'm either a genius, and I'm not, or that the author has a very low level of intelligence. I can survive with the stupidity, but the repetition, I felt that I want to grab him and shake the crap out of him, yelling, yes, I know pewter gives power. Ellen is a freaking scholar. Vin lived on the streets. Stop repeating that. We have brains. We can keep information stored in our brains for more than 3 pages. Trust me, this is a normal human ability, and you don't need to be a Mistborn to be able to do that. That's it.
I guess, and I can see where he's coming from if that's his main issue. Like, he keeps repeating what metal does what because he keeps saying, like, Vin pulled on pewter too. But at the same time, if I was, I'm trying to think if I was writing it, I want you to understand with clarity what is going on. So if I just say Vin punches the guy and he flies across the room and slams into the wall, I want you to know that didn't just happen, because there are parts in this book where shit just happens and it's not clear what's going on because it's something else. It's not, it's not allomancy, it's ferochemy, or it's hemalurgy. So I get what you're saying. We've been in the world for a while now by the 3rd book, but at the same time, for the sake of clarity, I think you can forgive repetitiveness.
When it comes to the metals especially, I'm part of it is, look, there's 14 different metals at this point, and I guarantee you if he didn't say which metal was being used at which time, there would be people who are like, I was so confused. There's too much stuff in this magic system, and I never remember what does what, and he doesn't help. So
yeah. Well, let me see if I can name it right now. After I've read those books, let me see if I can figure them all out. Okay, so we got because I should know, right? I'm not an idiot.
Right.
So we got pewter, that's for strength and stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Tin, that's for senses. We got steel and iron, and those are for pushing and pulling. Am I right on those?
Yep.
We got copper. Is that for soothing?
No.
Okay. Brass. Is that for soothing?
And see, this one, the soothing and the rioting, I never remember straight up. So hold on.
Yeah, because they don't say that a lot. They just say he's doing it. I feel like that's the one they probably repeat the least of what metal it is, because they just say he soothed.
Because it's brass and zinc, and okay, so soothers are brass.
Soothers are brass, the riders are zinc. See, I wouldn't have remembered, like, even after reading all three of these books, definitely would not have remembered that rioting was zinc.
Mm-hmm.
Coppers for smoking.
Yep.
And shit, what's the thing Marsh does? Seeking, and
Mhm.
that is I don't know. What's seeking?
Bronze.
See, and that's after reading 3 books. I still don't remember all of them.
Mhm.
And then, of course, you got Adium, you got Gold, you got Leracium, the 11th metal, whose name I can't remember.
They call that Maladium.
Maladium. And then you got Duralumin, Aluminum,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can't even... Did they ever name all 16?
No, but you're missing one that they did name. You got everything but one.
Hit me with it, because I don't remember.
Electrum.
Oh, that's right, Electrum.
The poor man's Adium or whatever.
Yeah, that's introduced in the 3rd one.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm an intelligent guy. I read all 3 books. It was very hard for me to remember all of those metals and what each of them do. I didn't look at anything to do that, clearly, because I had an issue with it. So I think we can forgive, for the sake of clarity, we can forgive Brandon for being repetitive.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near as much as in like the first few fights in the first book, when he's really trying to like explain everything.
Well, and so the medals I give him a pass on. A lot of people complain about like the characterization stuff, like this person says, Ellen is a scholar, Vin grew up on the streets, you don't need to tell us this stuff over and over again. And I never felt like that was overly done, like that kind of thing. And maybe I just don't notice it as much as some other people. But I feel like I love the Dresden Files, my favorite series. But for the first like 10 books, every single book, we get the same introductions to everyone, because he's got to prepare for new people who have never read this before to meet all the characters again. And it's like, this person was 5 foot tall and had this color blonde hair and acted like this and looked like this. And it's like the same description every book. And that got to me. Like, I picked up on that. I didn't pick up on the same thing here, but maybe other people are more sensitive.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely happens with the best of authors. Yeah, Jim Butcher for sure in the Dresden Files, and I even noticed that one quite a bit. But at the same time, the Dresden Files could be read until you get to a certain part in the series. They could be read as more self-contained stories.
Yeah.
So, because like you said, Dresden Files. But anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, the introductions are kind of probably needed there. J.K. Rowling, bringing it back to Harry Potter, does the same thing in the first 4 books. Every book she introduces you, this is Harry Potter, he's not a normal boy, he's a wizard, he goes to wizard school.
Meet his family, they suck.
Voldemort killed his parents, it's the worst. Moving on. She does that for the first 4 books at least.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't think it's until the 5th book that you don't get an introduction to who he is. Actually, you may actually get it, it's just not in the first chapter. Because I think
the 5th book, the first chapter is from that other perspective, right?
The 5th book.
Maybe I'm thinking the 6th book.
Yeah, the 6th book is from Narcissa Malfoy's perspective.
Yeah.
But no, I think the 5th book starts.
Oh, that one starts with him in the garden, right?
I don't think that's
the radio.
Well, maybe that is the first chapter. Dudley Demented. Yeah, that is the first chapter. So you get a slight introduction to him there, not as like overly explanatory or expositional as the other previous books, but yeah, the 6th book actually starts with the Prime Minister of Britain, and then the 2nd chapter is the one at Snape's house.
I forgot the Prime Minister bit.
But yeah, so 100% authors do that, and you know, there's an editorial reason why they do that. It's like you have to understand that maybe this isn't the first time, or that maybe this is the first time somebody's picking up this book. Maybe they randomly found it in a library and started reading it. And so you kind of have to explain, like, hey, this is what's going on. But that all being said, I don't think that he over-explains who Ellen is or who Vin is. I feel like it's such a big part of their character that it just kind of naturally comes out. So
yeah, really, I mean, it never occurred to me before hearing about this incident in particular, but going back to the Dresden Files, like the 7th book in that series is the first one that got made as a hardcover in the original printing. And so the publisher's like, look, you might want to do something. This is going to be your first hardcover. It's going to draw a lot of new people that will pick up this as the first book. So you want to do something for this book that's going to be a good introduction to people into the world. And he actually like switched the order that the story for the 7th and the 8th books were going to happen, because this one that ended up being the 7th, he thought was more interesting for new people.
The 7th is Deadbeat?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's really one of my favorites up until the most recent ones. But
yeah. If you guys aren't reading the Dresden Files and you like urban fantasy, dude, pick it up. They're good.
Yeah, somebody in the Discord was asking the other day. It's like, hey, should I read the Dresden Files or Codex Alera? Those are two of his series. And I was like, I love the Dresden Files. I always recommend that. They read the first book and were like, oh, this is really fun. So yeah. I'm glad people are getting into.
Stormfront, I think, is still a very strong introduction, like, to his work. I still think it's pretty good. Like, it doesn't suffer the same pains as I feel like a lot of other first introduction series books suffered. I think it's actually pretty good all the way through.
A lot of people say the second one is the worst and the first one is the second to worst of the series, so people can get discouraged on those. But
yeah, the second one I do not like. I don't like. Well, I won't spoil it for people who haven't read it, but I don't like the story or the beasties that he's fighting in that particular book.
Somebody else said that in the Discord too. They're like, yeah, I read the first two, but I didn't like the second one so much that I never continued. So for those same reasons basically that you said. So that's kind of funny.
But no, like the third one's okay. The fourth one I think is really where it picks up. I like
where it takes off.
Yeah, I like Summer Night a lot. I actually really like Death Masks too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Deadbeat's good. Proven Guilty's not my favorite.
I love Proven Guilty personally, but that's
really it's just not. It's just not for me. But it's still pretty good. And then I haven't finished. I haven't finished White Knight yet.
Anyway, sorry. I'm sorry about so much Dresden Files this time, guys.
No, it's fine. They came here for it. It's all good.
So the next
you guys
one
want us to do Dresden Files stuff for the extra podcast.
I would be perfectly happy to talk about that all day long. I'm just saying. So,
but then it's not so much the Sanderson podcast.
Yeah, it's not, and it's also like Dak has read all of these too, so he'd probably be up for talking about it. But yeah, once again, we'd be moving away from the Sanderson content.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this review is a little bit longer, but it's not as long as some of the ones we're going to read here in a minute, because there were lots of long rants about this book. I do have to
Interesting.
say that. But this one is a shorter, long one. Jackie S. says, I'm pretty sure this is the worst book I've ever read. It was extremely...
Whoa!
I know, right? It was extremely misogynistic toward the main character we love, whether it be the violence Vin personally experiences and how it was written, or her quote-unquote how to be a wife arc in this book, to her personality removal, or to her ending. And that ending, not only was it horrible and not at all very clever like the author thought it was, but it was offensive. What the heck is up with that? It just disgusts me that we get a fantasy book with a female lead with a clear hero's destiny, and it's just ripped away from her. It's not clever or subversive. It's bad writing. The writing was horrible and sometimes unreadable, and I was fine reading Mistborn. It read like an outline way too many times. The book was also really long for no reason. Also, what was up with the ableist crap? The book had our heroes degrade a man with a physical disability? ? The coda was dumb too. Old Sanderson here to remind you that women can't be gods, as he has both of the original, in a sense, godly figures as both men, even though one of them is called Preservation, and every damn civilization has a Mother Nature myth. And oh my god, I hate this book. That's the end.
All right. Well, look, I'm not a woman. Okay. So your opinions, this review writer, your opinions are very valid. And, of course, if you feel that way, you feel that way. But I feel like maybe you were kind of pushing some extra stuff on here that wasn't there. Because, I mean, I really don't think her destiny is ripped away from her. And maybe it's because I have the hindsight of Secret History, but it's like, no, this was her destiny. This was what she was meant to do. She was meant to be better than Kelsier, better than these other men who are trying to rule the world, save the world, make the world in their image. And she gives up the power. She's better than them in the second book. She gives up the power instead of taking it for herself. She's better than them at the end of this series. She sacrifices the power and herself, which Ruin would never have considered that she would do, to destroy them both. And I think that is, I mean, I guess her complaint seems to be that instead of Vin being able to go on and be the god of this this new world, it ends up being Say's. I guess like it seems like maybe she's upset about that.
Yeah.
But while we love Vin, while we know Vin, and Vin is a good person, I don't think Vin could have accomplished what Say's accomplished, because Say's was just a different person. He'd studied his whole life and gained all this knowledge to be able to do exactly what he did at the end of the book. It couldn't happen another way. Tindwyl couldn't even have done what he did because she didn't study the same things. So I really don't see why, you think it should have been a different way. But, what am I, I'm not anyone to talk about women in fiction. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It bugs me to, I feel like it's really undercutting Vin's character to be like, no, she had this clear hero's destiny and it gets ripped away from her and she gets nothing at the end because Sanderson says women can't be gods. And I'm like, no, Vin. And for one thing, ever since really the second book, there's been this thing where it's like she thinks she's the hero of ages. Say's just like, is she the hero of ages? Is she not? And then when she gets really confident that, yes, I must be the hero based on these prophecies, that's when we find out the prophecies are bullshit and were changed to let the evil god escape. And so it was anything but a clear hero's destiny, quote unquote. It was an intentionally murky, is there even a hero? We don't even freaking know, because all the resources that we have to go on are changed by the bad guy to help him win. So and this person's like, that's not clever or subversive, it's bad writing. And I'm like, I feel like it was actually really cleverly done, the way that we're introduced to this stuff and we trust it, and then we find out we shouldn't trust it, and now we have to question at every step what is right, what is not, and the characters themselves are like, how much can we trust this information from 1,000 years ago, because we've already found out that it's led us wrong. So I don't necessarily agree with that part.
No.
The comment about what is this ableist crap, the book had our heroes degrade a man with a physical disability, I assume we're talking about Set. And it's true that the book makes a joke out of the fact that Ham can talk to him and he has to sit there and can't run away because his legs don't work. So maybe that's ableist. I always just thought of it as, we know Set is an asshole, and so he's getting a little payback here, and it just happens to come in the form of this because of his situation. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
I've also been, and this isn't something I'm trying to speak to from a political platform or anything like that. But I'm also like, well, what is equality really? Like, this guy's Set's an asshole, like we said. He's crippled. Why? Like, are we supposed to be treating him differently because he's crippled? I don't understand. Like, is he supposed to be cared for? He doesn't want that. It's very clear Set's not the kind of guy that's like, take care of me.
No, he was a king. He's lazy and stuff. And he has servants to do stuff for him, but that's not really the same.
But that's not him being crippled. That's him being a lazy asshole. Like, there's a difference. So yeah, I'm not sure about that either. Also, like, Say's, like, even the characters in the book, Say's especially, he's shocked the most at the end when Vin is gone. He's like, no, like, how, this can't be. She was the one. She was the one who was supposed to do this. So it's not like he's saying, women can't do it. See, even our characters know she can't. Like, no, that's not what happened at all. Like, Say's is he has so much faith that she's the one. She's it. And it's not until the very end when he's like, oh crap, it's me. But I don't want it to be me. And then, but he knows he's got to do it.
Also, Vin was a god for a while, so he's definitely not saying women can't be gods.
Right.
And slight spoiler, we found out that there are at least 16 gods out there, or were at some point. They are not all men. Mm-hmm. So just.
Oh, well, thanks for spoiling that. No, I mean, the odds were pretty good that they weren't all going to be men. But
okay, let me pull another one out here.
I hope the women's shards have hair loopies like Katara.
Katara's hair loopies are a great hairstyle. I don't even know how you do it, but it looks cool.
Yeah, it's very confusing to me too. I can't tell if they connect in the back or in the front. Or
right. Yeah. This one is an interesting one. It's a short. Meg says the second book of this series will forever be one of my favorite books ever. However, the ending of this book spat on everything I loved from this series. I can't in good conscience give it more than 1 star. It is a tragedy of disappointments. There were a ton of things that felt off. The emphasis on other characters, the pacing, the resolution to Sazed's arc, Vin's arc. While the book does tie everything into a nice little bow, revealing Sanderson's foresight, it really makes me wonder, this is what you planned for? All that effort to plant little hints ahead of time, and your whole master plan boiled down to this. I am saddened beyond belief and am in mourning for what could have been my favorite book series of all time.
So this, it's funny to me that they love the second book so much.
Right?
Very,
Yeah.
very interesting. And I'm curious to know like the specifics of how this book particularly spits on the stuff from the last one, because I don't feel like it does that. But I guess this is another case of this person is more interested in the events that are taking place and not the characterization that is happening. Although they say that Vin and Sazed's arcs are unsatisfying, I'm not sure how. Like, yeah, Vin dies. We've talked about that. It's a bummer, but she's with Elend. They're together. So they both died and they're both together. It's not like they're separated.
Yeah.
But Sazed, I feel like that's kind of as good as it could have gotten from Sazed, because Tinwheel's not coming back, and now he's been charged with taking care of Scadrial. And if there's a guy you want to be in charge of your world and your life in a grand scheme of things, where he winds the clock and then he sets it down, I feel like Sazed is that guy. And I think that's the whole point, is Sazed never grasped for power himself. He was always looking for something to believe in, something to hope in, and now he has become that thing. But so I really don't see how it's seen as unsatisfying. But
the person says that they don't like the emphasis on other characters, which I kind of assume has to mean Spook, because I'm trying to think if any other characters get a lot of emphasis outside of like Vin and Elend, who were already heavily emphasized, and Sazed, who's also already heavily emphasized. I mean, maybe Breeze gets a little more screen time than he has at some points.
And Tensoon.
Tensoon gets his own sections. Yeah, they're just not that long. I've kind of forgotten that.
For a while, it was like we, as the readers, were kind of like, oh man, we like the Tensoon stuff. This is good. Yeah,
you're like, where's more Tensoon? And to be fair, his end is a little anticlimactic.
I was about to say that. Yeah, I think his end is probably the most unsatisfying character arc in this book, because at this point we really like Tensoon, we were rooting for him, and then he never does make it back to see Vin again, and then like he tries to choke Sazed out, and then he's gone. That's the end. So yeah, it is kind of a bummer.
Okay, I got another one sentence one here. This person, Anna, says, really unfortunate that all the main characters suddenly have to have superpowers. That's it.
So she's playing the Batman card, right? It's like, Batman doesn't have superpowers. He's just as important and cool and good, which I totally agree with. But I think that also that was kind of the point. Spook ended up doing quite a bit of things without his powers that were pretty good. And then he just gets powers at the end as a bonus, right? But we don't actually see, at least not yet.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, what he's doing with his powers. But other than that, I really don't think that them all having the powers from the mist is a bad thing. I think it's kind of a cool idea, and it kind of also it gives us a little bit of relief that this mystery of the mist and the people getting sick or dying is kind of explained. It's like, okay, well, they were getting sick because they were becoming mistings, and then the ones that got sick longer were becoming mistborn. So I actually think that's pretty cool.
No, the ones who got sick the longest were the Adium mistings.
Oh, so they could only do Adium. Oh, that's right. I knew that, because they tried other metals and none of them worked.
Yeah, right. Really, it's a weird complaint in my head about this book series that started, like, the first book, all the main characters had powers. That was the whole point, that they were part of, except for Doxson, I guess. They were all part of this crew where they each had these different superpowers and used them in different ways. And I guess, you made a point that Spook gets made a Mistborn at the end, but he was always a Tin Eye, so he always had some level
Right.
of superpowers. I guess Ellen at the beginning of this, like at the end of the last book, becomes a Mistborn.
Right.
And that's probably the biggest change, is from nothing to everything that happens. And so maybe that's what this person's upset about, that Ellen was like the one guy who didn't have superpowers fighting in this thing, but he was never really fighting. That was kind of the thing, was Vin had to save him from fights. So I don't know.
Well, and I think maybe they're talking about the soldiers, like I was saying, like, all of a sudden all of these soldiers have powers.
None of them felt like main characters to me. So when they said all the main characters, except for maybe Daemu, I think he's still a secondary character at best, but I could see maybe an argument there.
No, but you're totally right. They did say main characters, so they probably are talking about like Spook and Ellen and all this other stuff. Which, at the end of the second book, we don't know for sure that Ellen has become a Mistborn, only that he can use pewter. So
yeah. No, I think actually we see him bring pewter when she saves him, and then in like the epilogue, he's like, it looks like I guess I'm a Mistborn.
That's right. I forgot about that. No, you're totally right. Yeah. So I mean, come on. Like we said in the first book, that was the whole point. It's like, got to get Grease Man, got to get a this. Like, exactly. They had to have a crew with the full complement of abilities in order to be successful.
And I'll give you that one of my favorite things in fiction is where you're in these worlds with these superpowers or whatever, and there's the one guy who doesn't have any, but because he's really clever and smart and like works really hard at it or whatever, he can still like hang in there with all the other guys, like Batman basically. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that in a story a lot. So it disappoints me when you get into a story, and I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but there's one book series I'm thinking of in particular that's like 5 books long, and it centers on this character that is exactly that. Like, it's a world of superpowers. It's the one guy who, for whatever reason, doesn't have any, and he's forced to deal with that and to hold his own even without them. And then at like the end of the 3rd book or something, they're like, okay, you have superpowers now. And I'm just like, oh, really? Did we need to do that? Like that? I feel like that undercuts everything we've been doing up till now. So I get it. Yeah. I get that perspective. I don't think Ellen was that guy. Ellen was not like, I don't have superpowers, but I'm going to use my smarts to hang in there and still be. No, he was the guy who stands behind everyone who has superpowers because that's what he had to do.
Right. Yeah. While we're on the subject of Batman, if you want to see something like that, where a super smart guy outwits a bunch of people, read The Tower of Babel. It was great.
You mean the graphic novel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you said like that as if like it didn't involve Batman. I'm like, but Batman's in the Tower of Babel.
No, 100%. I'm talking about Batman.
Okay. I was like, that does sound like Batman because it's Batman. The DC animated movies did a take on that, which wasn't quite as good as the graphic novel, but was still decent. Like, I think it's Justice League Doom.
Oh yeah.
I've been watching through the DC animated movies lately, so that one sticks out when we're talking about that.
Speaking of DC stuff, I did see The Suicide Squad on HBO Max because I forget that they put all their stuff on HBO Max as well.
Right.
I'm glad I didn't pay to go see it in the theater. It was good, but not so good that I would have wanted to pay to see it.
I'm glad I saw it on the big screen. I thought it was a lot of fun. I totally forgot until almost the end of the movie that I'm like, oh, that character, that voice is Sylvester Stallone. I did not remember this.
Oh, who does he play?
King Shark.
Oh, Nanawe, huh? I did not realize that was him either.
Like, he says one line at one point, and I'm like, man, that sounds like, oh my God, that's right. That's Sylvester Stallone. What the?
That's funny.
Speaking of which,
I didn't remember that.
I just saw Free Guy today, and there's some famous people like playing random like voices of background characters in that too that I didn't notice until you get into the credits, and the credits were rolling, and I'm sitting there like, wait, what? Hugh Jackman was random guy in Alley. Dwayne Johnson was random bank robber. What the hell's going on here?
They really wanted to fill it with stars.
So yeah, there's some random fun people in there.
Yeah, I'll say Idris Elba. No offense to Will Smith. Idris Elba much more interesting to watch than Will Smith. Idris
Elba was I'm good with that. I saw some people complaining that he's apparently been cast to play Knuckles in the second Sonic movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, why not? Who cares about that?
Well, Dak, for one, was like, fine. Don't cast an Aussie to play the Echidna. Sure. And somebody else was like, hey, it's not like Australia is the only place that okay, never mind. Sorry. Because, yes, that's where it gets.
Hey, I mean, come on. Don't be like that. I mean, it was made in Japan. None of the games where they talk, I don't think he's Australian.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever. I don't recall Knuckles talking in a game. I'm sure it's happened plenty, but there's at least one TV show that he was in, and I'm sure he was not Australian in that one. So
no. I mean, really, what they should have done is have Steve Urkel play him in the live action movie, but that didn't happen. So.
Oh, play Sonic. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he plays Sonic. He's played Sonic more than anybody else.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Sorry, we were talking about Knuckles, and so for a second there, I thought you meant Knuckles. I was like, well, why? But no, Sonic. No. Yeah, he plays Sonic a lot. It makes sense.
That would be the ultimate baller move, though, if he did play Knuckles. They're like, fine, you won't.
We're not giving you Sonic.
Yeah, it's like, you won't give me Sonic, I'll play Knuckles. It's like we'll have a duel between me and what's his name, Ben Schwartz. It's like, I'm gonna go toe to toe with Ben Schwartz. See how you like that?
Okay, this one's interesting but quite long. So here we go. And I guess this person came back and okay, well anyway, here it goes. Tamsin says this book receives 1.5 stars. It was a 1-star review, so I don't know if you can't leave 0.5 stars on Goodreads or if they changed it, but the series overall receives a 2-star rating. Here's the thing about this series. You can't give it a 1-star because there are good moments. If you don't mind wading every book through 300 pages of repetitive bullshit to get to the interesting shit, and then wade through another 150 pages for shit to get interesting again, for real, those like 2 to 3 chapters over the series are really good. In all seriousness, though, I'm trying to decide if Brandon Sanderson needs to be a better writer, or if the editor needs work, or if perhaps the publishing company needs to be less greedy. Why does everything need to be a trilogy or more? This was probably a book. With a sequel, maybe. I think it's probably a combo of greediness, poor editing, and Sanderson's shitty writing. He blows. I can't help compare him to the Wheel of Time author Robert Jordan. Sanderson takes over the series after Jordan's death. I can't honestly speak to Sanderson's portion of the series, but Wheel of Time is about 12 books, and they're each about 950 pages. I've heard Sanderson is excellent in comparison to Jordan. Jordan is terrible. He's repetitive and cliched, and guess what? In this Mistborn series, I kept comparing Sanderson to Jordan. Sanderson is incredibly repetitive. Did you know that Vin has a verbally abusive brother and it's hard for her to trust people and she hates/loves dresses? Did you know that Ellen loves books and political theory and Vin? And he's really surprised he's ever become emperor and he wears white uniforms even though it's ashes all the time? Did you know that Breeze is secretly a totally nice guy? Did you know that Alrian can riot people and she is so totally girly? I could tell you 1 to 3 facts about every person in the series simply because Sanderson cannot shut up about the only 3 facts they have. Because, he's a very superficial writer who cannot write a character study to save his life. Also, Sanderson is just incredibly boring. Except for those 2 chapters, I seriously can't believe that he can make this thing so lame. Just one more nagging thing about Sanderson's inability to write. If you have to include important details in italics before the start of every chapter, these are not notes or even part of the chapter, to have people figure out what the hell is going on and to let the magic of your world make sense, it's probably not a sign that you're a good writer. Seriously, if you have to include 3 sentences explaining the Well of Ascension, or how Ruin was created, and why releasing the power ended up being a bad thing, or how basic principles work in your world before the chapter and totally separate of the plot, I am not impressed in your ability to do jack shit. At first I thought these italicized notes were like compliments to the chapter, for the more in-depth fan who wanted to know more about the world. They're not. They are critical reading. If you do not read these stupid notes before each chapter, you'll never understand the logic of anything, which frankly pisses me off. Good writers and good world builders, which I keep reading in reviews is a compliment for Sanderson, excuse me while I roll my eyes, do not need to critically explain their world separate from the plot. Yes, intricate world builders can add appendices or even separate books that serve as atlases and what have you. They do not need to give you sentences that are necessary to read to explain what's happening in the actual book. I'm stopping here because frankly I can't waste any more time on this. Yes, there's some entertaining scenes, but if anyone describes this to you as excellent or must read, find something else. There are authors that do this better.
Well, he's got some points. I don't know if they're good points, but he's got some points. No, I mean, I get it, man. It's not for you. Like, it's not for you. That's basically what I'm getting out of all of it. It works for some people, though. But I would argue, and maybe this, because this was drilled into me when I was at the university, if you read a book, you're supposed to read the whole thing. The author put it in there for a reason. It's not for you to just skip over because you don't think it's important. I am a very strong believer that you read the foreword. If there's a foreword, you read the preface. If there's a preface, you read the prologue, you read the epilogue, you read the notes. That is what it's there for. If they didn't put it there, or if they put it there, then you're supposed to read it. If they don't want you to read it, they wouldn't put it there. So I completely disagree with him on that. But yeah, I mean, obviously he's got some problems with the way Sanderson writes. And look, the good news is not everything is for everyone. So
That's true.
You know, these books aren't even totally 100% for me. I like them. I found them interesting. I found the characters interesting. I found the world building interesting. But yeah, obviously this guy didn't feel that way. I'm surprised he made it through all 3 books, honestly.
Yeah, especially if the epigraphs bother you that much, that's a big thing all the way through. So, and I don't know. Really, it is. Yeah, it's just different opinions, because I love the way that the epigraphs are used in all 3 of the books, because they're used differently in each of the 3 books, and in each 3 books, I feel like they do some interesting stuff, and it's a kind of thing that I like. And so, yeah, we're really getting into a personal preferences thing. One of my favorite, and if we ever get this far, one of the books that, or one of the series he's written does use this, one of the non-Cosmere series. One of my favorite in literature comedic approaches is when people use footnotes or endnotes for comedy. The kind of thing where you can think about it in a movie or a TV show, where it's like, this is sure to work, and then it pauses and there's like a voice that's like, it didn't. And so I love when there's like endnotes or footnotes where it's like something happens and then there's like this comedic footnote to it that's like, here's some random backstory on this thing that's really funny, or stuff like that. And so maybe that's a reason that I like the epigraphs and the way he uses them, is because it's the kind of thing that I enjoy. But there's some really funny books out there where it's like most of the comedy actually comes from the notes and not from the main text itself, which I started writing something in college that used that very heavily, that I never actually got around to finishing. But it was like, the concept was that it was like a guy on death row who was like really famous for these gruesome murders he committed and was convicted for. And it was like his autobiography, his memoirs of like his side of the story, the true side of the story. But it was after the guy was dead, and like some researcher had found like this, bundle in stuff that he'd left behind with all his notes. And so the researcher had published it, and it was exactly what the guy wrote, but the researcher had put his own like footnotes in. And so at first they're really academic, where the guy's like, one of the lines is the guy's like, so I went to this college and got this degree in this. I'm not going to say what college it is, because I don't want to taint them by association with what has happened to my name, basically. And then there's a footnote where the guy's like, the researcher's like, so judging from the year and this guy's name and the degree that he said he graduated with, there's this one college that we can basically narrow it down to that he must be talking about that fits in with everything he said. So it's very like academic stuff at first. And then as the story progresses and it becomes clear that the guy's story is a bunch of BS, it starts to be very like funnier footnotes where the guy writes that it happened this way. And then the researcher's like, yeah, here's all this evidence that shows that this is a complete lie. And it's really funny the way that he writes it in there. And so I love that. That's just my personal preference.
Yeah. Hey man, don't you're gonna have to cut all that out. You can't give away your concept. Somebody's gonna steal it.
That was like 15 years ago, and I never went back to work on it after like 3 chapters. So I don't think that if somebody else wants that, they can have it.
Never say never, man. You never know.
I'm working on different things now. It's all good.
If I write that, are you gonna call bullshit and like say it was your idea and shit?
No, probably. Well, I mean, yeah, I would be like, hey, he totally stole that idea from me, but I told him he could, so it's okay.
All right, cool.
Which it's funny that you say that, because the first chapter, the first whole chapter of the book was like this guy talking about how his mom was crazy, and it was largely based on our mom. So.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so you totally can steal it and get away with it.
This summer, look for my book. This coming summer, 2022. Look for my book, memoirs of a serial killer, annotations by Franz Finkelstein. There you go. That's a good name.
Oh man. Okay, let's how long have we been going on this? Yeah, let's do like one more. Let me find a good one.
Okay.
Tallulah says, I honestly wish I could eternal sunshine my mind of this book. The whole whiny series, in fact. Not one character I liked. Okay, the Soother and Ham were okay, I guess. What's worse, I read the entire series thinking surely this can get better. Then I kept reading in hopes that Vin would just die. At times, it felt like I was reading an episode of Dragon Ball Z, the way they go on about her power level. It's over 9,000, by the way. The series touted the poor damaged Vin thing around like a banner. It was less of a weakness and more a thing to be pitied. The worst crime of all is that it didn't make me care. Not for the ska, not for Vin, not for her annoying rich husband, and not for the world that the author created. I will concede the Inquisitors are pretty cool, as were the Khandra. The whole idea of the medals was well thought out, as well as the powers, but ultimately, this left me feeling cheated. I love some young adult fiction from time to time, but this book was not for me. It does appear to be for others, so yeah, rant over.
Love the Dragon Ball Z comparison. You know, and it did feel that way at times, especially since we were reading, 3 chapters at a time, and then having to talk about them. It did kind of feel like some there was some filler in there, so I get that. But yeah, a very interesting comparison. So yeah, you said it. You said it in your review. It's not for you. It's for other people. And I really don't think Vin's stuff, her personal stuff, is used for us to pity her. But the fact that you're saying you don't care, I'll be honest, that kind of makes you sound like an ass. Just to say I didn't care about the ska, I didn't care about her. Well, then what do you care about? Seriously, what do you care about? Because these people.
I'm impressed that you made it through 3 books.
For real,
not caring about any of it.
Yeah, because I mean, if I was that empathetic, I would have put it down after the first few chapters. Even if we were doing the podcast, I would have been like, you know what, dude, I'm out. I don't think I can do this, because you're supposed to care. So if you don't care, I don't think that's the author's fault. I think that's your fault. You just don't care. So move on and do something else. Read something else.
Yeah, it's just, Tallulah, you and I are very different people, because I can't imagine someone coming out of this being like, Breeze and Ham were my favorites. They were okay, I guess. And I'm like, really? you don't give a shit about Vin, but Breeze and Ham are your favorite. Okay. I mean, if that's your thing, I guess. Not to say that Breeze and Ham are bad. I don't dislike Breeze and Ham, but it's like, I love Vin, and Kelsier is really fun to read, even if he's like a sociopath in a lot of ways. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Her power is over 9,000.
Sure. Constantly.
But yeah,
at a certain point, it's over 1 million when she's a god.
Oh yeah, when she's a god, exactly. She's gone like Super Saiyan God.
Yeah, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan
Blue or whatever.
Yeah, well, if it's Super Saiyan God, it's red. If it's Super
red,
Saiyan God, if it's Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, then it's blue.
Okay, well that's just dumb.
And then when it's Ultra Instinct, it's silver.
Does silver look good? I'm trying to picture that, and I don't think I can picture it.
It looks okay. It kind of just makes him look like he's old.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, there was a couple of themes that came out in my reading the reviews. One of them, that one that talked about like Vin getting cheated. A lot of people, and we saw it some in the last book, where it's like Vin is, and we've talked about it before, there's like not a lot of female characters in the book. Vin is the female character that you get and that you can be proud of. She's this awesome badass female character. People were upset that like Ellen is suddenly the stronger of the two in terms of raw like Mistborn power. Like, yeah, of course she can't be stronger than her husband, because you couldn't have that. Women got to be beaten down by the men in their lives or whatever. So that was a common. But at the same time, and it's funny because people ask Brandon, they're like, so who would win in a fight between Vin and Ellen? Because you said Ellen's stronger, and he's like, well, yeah, but raw strength doesn't mean everything. Like,
right.
Vin is way more skilled. She would beat him easily.
Yeah, and I feel like that's pointed to many times in the book.
Yeah.
Ellen says like, yeah, I've got power but I have to work at like doing this allomancy stuff. Vin is natural. It's like breathing.
She's like a prodigy.
Her. Yes, like it just happens. She thinks it and it happens. Moving around with horseshoes, no one had ever thought of that before, and she just did it. Yep. So like very clearly she is superior. Even against Kelsier, when she fought against Kelsier when she very first started training, it is very clear that she is more skilled or faster at picking it up than even Kelsier is.
Yep.
So because even Kelsey's kind of like, whoa, that's weird. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah, it's like she like stood up to me in this pushing battle, and given the difference in our weights, there's no way that should have been possible. But she's just that good.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. Again, it's like I don't really know what you're saying here. People that are complaining about that, it's like it's clear that she's better than her husband at the allomancy stuff. It's very clear. In fact, if Elend wasn't given the straight Lerasium to become a Mistborn, he probably would have died at some point without them there to help him.
He would have died at the end of book 2 because he was about to die.
Well, yes, but I mean, like if he had become a Mistborn some other way, like he snapped or something.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he would have been as well equipped to handle the things that happened in the 3rd book as far as like staying alive.
Well, and when it comes down to it, like Vin becomes a god in this book. Like I'm not sure how you can say that like the men are keeping her down when she ascends to godhood and chooses to sacrifice herself to save the world. It's like, okay, well,
yeah,
I don't agree with you, I guess is where we come down on that. Whatever.
Yeah, they wanted the story to end differently, and you know, to be fair, I did too. I wanted her to live, but didn't happen that way. But I don't think that makes the book bad. It just makes it end differently than the way that I wanted.
Yeah, and we talked about that at the time. Like I had the same thing when I got to the end of the book. I really wished I was like, oh no, I love Vin. Vin is one of my favorite characters in fiction. I really like her a lot. I did not want her to die, but I also thought that the way that it was written was really well done, and that the whole setup and payoff to the story worked really well. And then after you see her in Secret History, you're like, man, this wraps up even better. Like her character
100%.
arc goes so like the arc from the beginning of the story till the last time we see her in Secret History. It's like a really amazing character arc for her.
Yeah. If you read the first 3 Mistborn books and you haven't read Secret History, I would say just for the sake of feeling that wrap up, you got to go do it. I think it was really good thinking on your part to have us read that right after what was fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if there is stuff we're going to pick up on later because of it that we, maybe we shouldn't have, I really think that reading it and getting that kind of that sense of closure was important for the enjoyment of the first 3 books.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, since I picked that time to put it, but you're like, hey, if you haven't read this, if people are listening and you've listened to us all the way through here and you haven't read it yet, then I'm sorry for because you have had it all spoiled.
Yeah, what do we have, like what episode is this? We're up to like
68 or something.
Yeah, so you've got 68, probably more than half of those went 2 hours. So you've got several days worth of content for something that you didn't read. I'm not sure why you're here.
Well, no, even if you just didn't read Secret History, like you listened to like 4 or 5 episodes on that, and we told you everything that happened. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
A little late.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's true. I feel like these reviews kind of wrap up what people thought of the series as a whole, as far as 1-star reviews.
Yeah.
But let's review the reviewers. Like, what of these 3 books, was there a particular review that stuck out to you that you felt was like especially true, or that you really thought was ridiculous? I'll be honest, my brain's still thinking about the magic system is trite, and
the story. No, the story is trite, and the magic system is dumb or stuff. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Without even making it through the first chapter. I mean,
I was thinking the exact
about
same
that
thing.
One.
Yep, that's the one that sticks out to me. Which that may have been the very first one we did at all.
I think it was.
Like, yeah, it's just like, wow, dude.
It's amazing. It's just amazing.
That one and from this episode, the thinly veiled Mormon propaganda.
Oh yeah, the balls on somebody to be like. Magic sucks.
I didn't finish the first chapter, but the story is trite.
Yeah.
1 star.
I'm going to take to the internet. Let everybody know.
Got to make sure people are aware.
I read like 2% of this book. Fuck this book. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Oh, man. That's great.
Okay. Yeah. That's going to be the one that sticks out forever now. Let's see. I need to figure out a way to use that. It's just going to be that's going to be the go-to now. The story is trite. We're going to get through the prologue.
Yeah.
Book. I'm like, the story's trite.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to Elantris chapter 1 and be like, man, this Raiden guy, what a dickhead.
Oh yeah, because in chapter 1, that's the only person we've met, right? So
Yeah.
this guy, he turns into a zombie, right? I haven't heard that before. Whatever.
The worst. Oh look, there's goo on the walls. Oh boy, what a trope.
Oh my gosh.
Fecal matter goo.
I knew you were gonna bring it back, and after
Yeah.
that, he got raised like you destroyed me.
You just I can't even eat now. The slime is feces.
Oh. Yep, no, it's not good.
No.
Okay, we have one email to do this week, so let me hit that. This is from somebody who's in the Discord. So it says, "Howdy, Sanderlanche, but mostly Joe. This one's for you, my man."
What?
Michael here, although at this point Wolfbite, pronounced Wolfbite, it's spelled differently, may be better.
Is that like cockbite or?
Well, it's WULFBYTE.
So it's not like cockbite.
Since that's how the Discord knows me, and there's also a million Michaels out there. Joe, let us have a little chat about a recent discovery made by our good host Data in the first Baby Break episode.
Uh-oh.
Data found something very interesting while enjoying the many offerings of the internet. Dinosaur erotica exists. I do not blame you for your reaction, which if you don't remember was something like, no, why? I'm paraphrasing it.
I believe my exact reaction was like, what? Ugh.
But your reaction got me thinking. You know how Data wants ideas for extra content. You know how he keeps mentioning, maybe something for a Patreon. Strap in, buddy. It's time to unveil exactly what I will be more than happy to pay for. Joe needs to read Dinosaur Erotic and react to Dinosaur Erotica. Just think, soft, sensual music in the background. You narrate a complex yet graceful mating ritual. 2 massive lizards enjoying a special moment together in a crazy world. Will the T-Rex in the background cause a disruption? Or maybe, actually, I'm going to end there in hopes of keeping this somewhat appropriate. I have no doubt you will gladly comply with these humble demands. Good old Joe, bringing us wholesome new content from another time. Trust me, this is where the money is. Wuzzing to the time of next, Sule. Wolfbite. P.S. Please don't think me some pervert that requires the intimacy of oversized lizards to enjoy life. This email is a joke.
Look, as soon as I heard about Dinosaur Erotica, I said disgusting, gross, and I have not changed my opinion on Dinosaur Erotica. I will not be subjecting myself to any Dinosaur Erotica of any kind.
For some reason, I thought you were going to be like, as soon as I heard about it, I went to Google and had to find it for myself.
No. I did not even, sometimes I have a morbid curiosity about things, so I'll give them the old Google. Not so with Dinosaur Erotica. Not interested at all in Dinosaur Erotica. Couldn't be more disgusted by it. Although I did play back my reaction because people were talking about it, and I have to say, I reacted exactly as I hoped I would react to hearing about Dinosaur Erotica. I was just as disgusted as I would hope that I would be. Because it is, I'm just, I don't understand. If you enjoy Dinosaur Erotica and you're listening to this, please don't, you know what? I don't want to lose any listeners, but please stop listening. I don't want to do that.
The views of Joe do not necessarily represent the views of the Sanderlanche podcast.
Sure.
Affiliates.
I'm an individual. I'm an individual. Yeah. No, but I just don't get it. I don't get it. Like,
hey, what? People out there, you do you. No judgment here.
Sure. No, I'm judging you hard. If you like Dinosaur Erotica, because I don't. But honestly, I'd be that way. I'd be the same way about any bestial erotica. So like dog erotica, no. Cat erotica, definitely not. Unicorn erotica, no thanks. Like I don't need it. Whatever happened to a man and a woman, or even a woman and a woman, or a man and a man just having sex? Like why do we gotta have all this extra?
Anyway, moving on completely from all of that. For next week, I don't know exactly what we'll be doing. I haven't actually decided yet. Not going to be Dinosaur Erotica. That's for sure.
No, definitely not. Cut this out. We don't want to make them unsure about what they're going to hear. No, we'll figure it out.
But come back next time for, I don't know what it's going to be. I want to thank everyone in the Discord and through emails and stuff who've been sending best wishes for Dak and Jamie. I've forwarded one email at least to them that came through, and people in the Discord, as soon as they found out, was like, oh my gosh, congratulations, and we're so happy for you. So Dak and Jamie, if you're listening to this episode, there were lots and lots of well wishes and people super excited for you. So, and hope you're doing well.
Yeah. Also, thank you guys for listening still with Dak and Jamie being gone. We appreciate it. We Dana and I thought it was very important that you guys still got something.
Yep.
And you know, we like doing this, otherwise we wouldn't do it. But so we wanted to make sure that we didn't just leave you guys hanging, and we will figure out something for next week, but we appreciate your patience and everything through this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think he and I both enjoyed doing it. So.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot very interesting stuff that we discovered about people's opinions that I did not know.
Yeah, that's true.
I know a lot about these books, and I know, and you know, the background details. I've like read the stuff that Brandon has answered, and obviously the annotations and all this stuff. So I have a lot of knowledge about the books and the universe. I did not have a lot of knowledge about how some people reacted to it and the opinions that are out there. It made me look at some stuff in new ways, which that's kind of cool all by itself. And it gave me the opportunity to call out some insane people who say insane, crazy shit. And that's always fun.
And yeah, we found out the story was trite, and you know.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for sticking with us, guys. And we're going to come up with something fun for next week. And then the week after that, if things go to plan, we will be back into Elantris for chapters 7, 8, and 9. So
yeah, I need to read those. I still haven't read them.
Yeah, I kind of figured that you would hold off for a while, at least, since we weren't going to be hitting them for a while.
Yeah, I'm going to have to remember what happened, too.
Yeah, we're going to have to go back and remember what happened in the first 6 chapters. At least we're not like halfway through the book and it's like, oh, crap, what happened? We're 6 chapters in. So
that's true. We didn't get too far in, so that's good.
So anyway, thanks, everybody. We really appreciate it. If anyone wants to send us emails, like the email that we got, and maybe not exactly like the email we just got, you can send us an email at thesanderlanche@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter and on Facebook and Instagram and all those sorts of places where cool interweb things happen. So hit us up, send us messages, leave some 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts if you've never done that, and Joe will jump you into the misting crew.
Sure will. You better answer the door when I get there, too.
Music by Miracle of Sound and Wasn't the Time of Next. Colo.
Never be better than Commander.